Hey, I stopped my stream. Sorry about that. I was discussing Fibonacci, and so it's a good it's a good video. I'll have to update that later. But uh, anyway, I didn't mean to stop my stream. I meant to do a backtrack on my vertical, so I could use that later. But it is what it is. Um, Here's the deal. I have what I consider everything I'm doing is an 8. Everything I'm doing is an 8, except for like data entry, but it was a lot. So it might have been an 8 simply on the fact that it was going to take a long time. It was easy to do. Maybe it was a 1, but it was big and it was going to take up a good chunk of time. And there was a lot of different things. So yeah, I may have everything is I bit off more. I mean, the whole application is I bit off more than I designed for. I've been doing pretty good on some sprints, getting stuff done. And what I'll probably do as I'm knocking things out here, I'll probably update my sprint, which ends tomorrow, by the way. So I'll probably have to do some time tomorrow updating my progress logs, what kind of things that I do, what kind of things, where does that leave me as far as items checked off. And so you can see my last check-in was 153 edited files ago. It's too long. And the whole goal here was just get everything compiled so I could check it in, but each thing pulls me into another thing. Now that I kind of once I pulled simulator in and wanted to get it going, it just said, okay, you want this to work? All these guys have to work. And I'm like, oh, well, let's put in the stubs necessary to make those work. But, they all have their own little compile issues and building. And so as I get one thing fixed, another thing's kind of you iron something out and say, oh, okay, this is working great, but it needs this. And I go do this. And then that thing needs this and this and this. So I'm building up a lot. It's not just infrastructure anymore. It is actually the app getting all of its pieces flowing. I've even removed a lot from my run game and run play functionality now because it's no longer looking at the dummy code, which was the POC stuff. Like the special teams yards. I'm not going to need special teams yards because that's going to be calculated in the way a kickoff runs or whatever. So this thing is like, whatever. I can dump that. And in a sense, that gets me closer to compiling. Some of these things I might use, like calculate fumble chance, because there is going to be logic that determines whether or not there was a fumble or not. But it's probably not going to be something as simple as like this because, players have their hands abilities and their skill abilities and whatever logic builds into each individual player that gives them a chance. And maybe in this case, I can leave like a 0.25 for the sake of initial testing because I haven't put in player stats. So this might kind of do that. Score after play. This is one that I actually kept because this is if they scored and this tests it and this is actually going to be usable. I've actually converted this to be functional within the structure of the game. So that's already a thing. It wasn't calculated this way. It was random in the sense that the POC was doing it, but now it's actually set up to use. So those are good. Handle turnover. I'm not totally sure how handle turnover is going to work. There could be a number of things that have to work, but I'll probably keep it. What I have are going to be a number of what I call them runtime actions. These are things that aren't part of the planned route. So a player might have a route that says move to here, hitch, stutter step, or hook, or block, or do whatever their character is supposed to do, and that's their defined route. This is what they're going to do during the course of the ball not being in their hands, right? Then there's route actions, things like try to catch the ball. Is there an interception? Is there a fumble? Once he's got the ball, does he try to run? Is he going to get tackled? Is he going to try to sidestep? These are all runtime actions that happen as a result of the player's skills and where they are on the field and the ultimate goal of getting the ball into the end zone. So those are runtime actions that you don't assign. These are going to happen because the players have certain skill sets and certain things happening, and they're happening on the field. So it's not predefined. So you got your routes, which are predefined, and you got your runtime actions, which are not. How they function is, but when they occur is not. So, we're going to have to do things like, did we get a turnover, and did certain people, that once we start implying the stats, or where are they on the field, that kind of stuff all has to be taken into account when we're doing something like handling a turnover. And then play description, I decided, well, I don't know, that's probably not going to function exactly like this. Is run, is pass, blah, blah, blah. Maybe-ish. I haven't decided how I'm going to do the play calling, what's happening on the field. It could be generic. I want it to be fairly accurate. I'm going to put things like I got to pass in the player name so that it could say so-and-so ran, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that. What are the actions? And so what this will probably end up being is something more of a kind of a function. I want this to handle all of it, though. You can see, like this one, commentator does this. Well, I don't want that. I'd rather it say, call the play description generator, or get play description, and you pass in the necessary information after each thing, or action description. And really what it's going to come down to is who has the ball, right? Because it's like QB does this, running back does that. If they have the ball, call play description. What happens? And you don't want to do it after every step, right? Maybe after he takes a couple of steps, what happens? When they end up, so-and-so attempts to tackle, blah. That kind of thing. There's actually a point of something happening. Maybe every 2 steps forward, he'll say, gains 5 yards, so-and-so attempts to tackle, he breaks free, and, then it starts counting forward again. But when they have the ball, we'll say, get play description. I don't want to say generate. I mean, it is generating it. But I don't know. I like get play description. I like get better. I mean, you're generating stuff all the time in your code. You're generating the result. You're generating this. You're generating that. You're generating the play flow, blah, blah, blah. But that's too long of a word. Just say get. Keep it simple. Keep. What did they say? Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Just kiss it, man. Of course, if you say it with man on the end, it's keep it. That's keep it simple, stupid, man. Keep it simple, stupid, man. All right. It's funny how it's using the same nomenclature for the underscores of these objects. So here, Go has some weird things that I haven't fully gronked. Whether a function, I don't even know which items it is because I haven't fully gronked it, but some items, if they're capital, are referenceable outside of the code, if their first letter is capital. And then other things, if they're not capital, they're only private. It's kind of like it defines their scope. I haven't figured out which items do what, because some things it feels like it's a variable. Other things it's like, is it a function, or do you have to call? I mean, I don't know. I don't remember the exact scoping rules for what things are available outside of your current code space. And I don't remember if it's application wide, or is it because there's multiple scopes, right? There's your scope within a block. There's your scope within a function. There's scope within a block, which entails where you put it will determine what the block is, right? And then there's scope within a a file. So everything within this file, which is, you know, like a class. But I don't even know if Go uses classes in that way. So these may not be classes. Maybe they're just objects, because you don't, you know, I don't know how all that works. So I'm still, so I think that they're not classes, but you still have to declare the existence of the other objects so that they can know that they're connected. But like if they all use the same package, your declarations carry across all of them. So this play params, I could not put it in run game or route or anything like that, because they already have access to this because it's play. Now if I would make this lowercase, it might not be. Again, that's where I'm not sure. Is it these guys that have to be lowercase? Is it these guys? I think it's this one. If I make it lowercase, it might not be accessible by the other files. Go. I hate case conditions, to be honest. I've always hated upper and lowercase stuff. But, yeah, that's just because it just seems like a weird thing to try to remember. That and using tabs for anything. Python. Talking to you, Python. Now, truthfully, I think Proto cares about the tabs as well. And Go will actually, you know, I like clean tabs, but like Python won't fix itself because it thinks if you put it on the wrong line, that's intentional. It's part of the code. In other things, it's like, well, let's just make it look good. And so now you can't, it's harder to fix things in Python, I would think, because you can't make it look good because it ain't going to fix it itself, and it's going to think it's right. All right, so handle turnover doesn't get random int. Did I accidentally dump a get random int function? Let's do something like parse coordinates. Yeah, that's probably good because I'm storing part coordinates as a string xy. Is that bad? Is that going to slow me down a lot, especially if I'm working through a lot of it? Maybe. Guess we'll find out. I have to keep an eye on the parsing coordinates, because anytime you parse it, you're going to be grabbing it as this, and you got to split it up into x and y, and then you got to use it, and it's putting it in as an x64 or int32. Thing is, I have a couple functions where I need to multiply one of the positions when the ball moves by the number of grid spaces that it is. So the value, because we always start at 0, 0. That's where the football sits, is on 0, 0. That's also where the center is. He's on 0, 0 as well. So then we have ball progress that moves from the 0, 0 to the next position. And I gotta do stuff like have the player know where the limits are in the field, right? We don't want them running off the end zone. Somebody picks a long play for some reason and it takes them off the end zone. That's not good, right? So they have to have a limit where they can only go so far, and then they stay running around maybe in the back of the end zone, or at least until they get to a scout position. Okay, where was I? All right, so anyway, so I've been kind of cleaning this up. I don't think I need the random int might be used, but I don't know what happened to my function. Did I delete it? I was kind of getting delete happy for a minute there. We'll just say, let's just do this. I just want to have consider our to do implement logic to handle turnover. And I don't know, what's a Will that compile without? Can I just do this as a comment? Without it breaking? Where's the, no, so it doesn't like that. You can't just put that in, I guess. This one did it. Or that's the example he gave me did it. I don't know if, alright. AI's giving me bad stubs. Let's do this. Why does it do that? I hate when it jumps. You click on it and it jumps, but then you go back and do it again and it doesn't jump. We will have to log whatever this does, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. Did I not create the log action process function? Oh, yeah, it's a run play. What the heck is it? Log process pending actions. All right. Log action progress. Log where is that? Oh, I guess it. Oh, it did work. Okay. Oh no, it didn't. It's just compiling. Where is log action process? Did I not create that? Nope, that's not even the right function. Why does it do that? I have all these. Oh, there's the function. Oh, it's because it's lowercase. See, I think if it's uppercase, it can be called from other places. And I'm not just doing it here. Let's see let's see if that's true. If I go capital L here, that'll make it should make it available in multiple locations. Of course, this whole thing is not compiling. Let's go ahead and replace add entry. Add entry is not a thing. Log.add entry. Was there an attempt to create log? Finally, let's integrate the controllers into the main simulation. I wonder if I want to have a file. We'll call it because I don't know. We got route actions, and then we're going to have a new file called runtime actions.go, and that's going to be this one. I just want to group things up because some of this stuff is pretty long-winded. I don't want everything to be, because once I start adding code to all of these, this is going to get to be a pretty hairy file, and I'd kind of like to keep it simple. Now let's see if making this capital does anything. Does that work? Yeah, it looks like it's working. Okay. So maybe I'm learning something. Oops. No. What are you doing? And we'll go back here. And replace all of those. Maybe I'm learning something. I don't know. Maybe not. Still trying to determine if it's actually okay with those. See, when everything disappears, I know everything's not fixed. Because it's not. It's like it's doing some weird... It's doing something. Now everything came back. Alright, so it did fix those at least. I still have a couple items here that aren't fully hashed out. it's thinking. Huh. Did it like that? Are we good? Are we good? Are you going to be not a jerk? Okay, so cool. I'm not sure why it's got a problem with package main, though. I don't know what his problem with package main is. So let's do the same thing here. Alright. Oh, if that fixed anything. Oh, because they all have the same thing, player. So player is not a good title, by the way, Mr. AI, because player is a player. Player is like, it's Joe or Tom running back or whatever. That's who they are. It's a player object. In the terms of the actual play, it's more like, I think it's position player that I'm using. So we got, it might even just be position. Is postseason. Because really, when we're progressing through a play, it's just W1 is doing XYZ. And then we assign that results to an individual player. Because who cares? You know, the sim doesn't care who the guy is, except for the purposes of getting their stats. And yeah, we'll use that information to determine who that player is in that game. I honestly, I don't have all those guys assigned, right? I have to map the players to the position. And then, yeah, I do have to eventually put a player ID on it. So we got play progress log. That's what the player ID is. So it's probably a good idea that I do, because I keep thinking that I can take, like, say for example, the play progress log and just do it all in memory, and then when the game's, or when it's done, log it. I personally would like to prevent people from killing the play. But I think that works though, right? Because if you kill, I mean, you don't have that play yet. Everything else has been saved. So if I generate the entire log in memory, the user doesn't know what's happening. And once it's generated, I'll save it, send it back to the UI, and then the UI shows it off. If the player doesn't like what's happening and kills the game thinking he can come back, well, all you did was kill the visual. It's still in the database. So if you don't like that the other team just scored, tough. The game's in progress. If you want to recreate, you want to start the game again, it's going to finish that game. Now, if it's a league game, maybe it does something like prompt you. You have a game in progress. Do you want to complete it? Do you want to complete with a simulation? Do you want to simulate the rest of the game, or do you want to finish watching it? It's up to you, but you can't undo a I'm not going to allow those. A lot of these games, if you kill the game, it can track it. It'll say you killed a game. Retro Bowl does this, and I know other games do it too, where if you don't like the results, it'll let you kill it, but you're tough luck. You're not going to get to restart it. There's no restarting games. Sorry, folks. Your game's going bad. Sorry. Don't know what to tell you. You can take over as coach if you want, see if you can fix it. But it's happening, man. If you're down 27-0, you're down 27-0. You ain't coming back. I would like somehow to get people interested in watching their game. That's all I want. I want it to be a good looking, at least. I can't force people to watch their games, but I want them to know they're missing something. It's fun to watch. It's actually like a real game. Maybe I think part of it is I'm not going to allow people just to go flash forward. Game, game. You just simulate. And you can do that with some of these leagues. You can just simulate every game. You can even tell it to simulate the whole season and come back. I want people to play my game, but I also don't want it to be, if you're just going to simulate every season and then draft again, simulate draft again, simulate draft again. I mean, you're not putting any time into the game, so I'm going to lose those people anyway. You're not taking in the joy of the game. Those people aren't going to stick around. I mean, if you're simulating the whole season. And I think a lot of what happens with a lot of this stuff, the managers, people will play them and they start simulating a lot because they just get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of options. It's like, oh, this and all that. So, you know what? I don't care. Just go simulate the game and see what happens. And maybe I'll go fiddle with the team or the player. But ultimately, they just simulate a lot because, first of all, the simulations are crap. I have not seen a football manager game with a good simulation yet. It doesn't exist. I've seen decent front-end basic play games that have what they call it, manager light functions. Retro Bowl is a manager light function. You can have 8 guys on your team. You can do a little bit of trading, but they're never good. Trades are terrible. You never get a good trade. I don't even understand why Retro Bowl put it in because they never give you good players. There's free agency, which does have some if you happen to have enough money, but it uses paywalls to block your access to decent amount of money. So you rarely have enough players you can't get enough good players on your team unless you're throwing a lot of money at the game. So you can buy higher salary caps, which will allow you to buy more players, right? Get better players on your team. And then, players, every one of them, every player, doesn't matter how bad they are, their salary requests increase every season. So every season, it's not like you're under contract and you get 3 good years out of a guy. No, the guy will increase in salary. So you're basically always trying to balance out. Which again, if you're obviously frequently dropping players just so that you can pick up another rookie and you're starting from scratch because everybody's a rookie. The only place to get good players is free agency and drafting, and you have to have the money or you have to have enough coaching cred, which all these things come from money. You have to keep throwing money at the game. So I find it very difficult to play the game unless you put the difficulty down really low, and then it's easier. But again, which one's closest to real? Nothing, because it doesn't matter. So you can have all these difficulties. It has 20 levels of difficulty, and it just keeps getting harder and harder and harder and harder to help you meet your skill level and your tolerance for pain. And I don't want that. I want my game to be, every game is pretty much like a game should be. Yes, if you get good enough and you've kind of got a good feel for how players work and got a good game plan working, and you got decent coaching, and you've got a good idea how to do this stuff, you can go play against better players, guys like you who really know the game. But I don't know if I want to weight the game in a way that it's like if you're new, you're just going to win more. I don't know. I'm torn on that ability. Yes, what I might do is have the hardest level be real, be the 100% you get everything. It's just this is how football's meant to be played, and then have easier versions so people can go, well, it's hard to play at that level. Let's simplify a little bit. So it wouldn't change your stats or your abilities, but maybe certain defensive abilities would go. Say, yeah, you can't even. What would you wait? You probably have to lower the defenses. If you're having trouble winning, you lower the defensive ability. But then the offense is on the. Basically, you're just lowering non-player player skills. Everybody gets worse at their job. Except you. Your guys do better. It's really how it would have to be. You want the game to run exactly the same, but you give all of the opposition players a penalty based on this difficulty level, and then their players just don't succeed at most at things as easily. It's more likely to throw interceptions or break or fail in tackle attempts, or they're going to fumble more often, or they're just things are going to go a little bit more your way more often. Even if you just tweak that a little bit, I can adjust how that plays out, and maybe you win more often. But again, it's weighted. And I see then, and then if it's easier, then how am I allowing you to earn your? Maybe it's slower. Your players can still get experience. You can still build up things, your experience on your cards, but it's slower because you're playing against easier opponents. Instead of requiring X amount of XP or play XP for certain things to happen, you need, 5 times that or 10 times that, depending on how much easier the game is. It just takes a lot longer to build up that XP. So if you take off 10% of the defensive or the AI's player abilities, you make it 10 times or 10% harder to build up your skills. If you make it 50% dumber, then everything takes 50% more, to happen. Does that work? Maybe. I guess we'll find out when we get there. Let's continue working. All right. So I put in, what is all this stuff? ID prefixes for different types. Oh, that's my types. What is this thing? Runtime actions. Runtime action handler. Why is that? I created this runtime actions. At least it's mostly compiling. I don't know why it has a problem with the. I don't know why it's having a problem with the package main, because they all these guys run off package main. Oh, because it has these things. Okay. Starting play execution. So these are things. Player performing the action. Target player, target point, optional, target player, PG for throws, target point. Yeah, I guess it all comes down to what it is I'm expecting to create. See, I don't think I need a throw. Well, maybe I could break it down to things like throw ball, catch ball. Because I have a pass, which is its own little. It's going to be a complicated, but it's part of the route actions. And basically, each time it tries to process that, it's going to look to see where we are in the play. So pass is going to eventually execute, but he's either going to run or he's gonna scramble or he's gonna pass. Maybe he ends up running, just down the field. But either way, it's scrambling doesn't necessarily mean he's crossing the line of scrimmage. Once he commits to a run, maybe at some point he has to do that. Or here's the thing. I think I can make this. The more I write this, I think I can write the entire simulation to function without any player stats. I'm going to apply player stats as adjustments to what the standard runs are, but a game could run everybody's equal 100%. So this happens at it'll allow me to create a baseline, which means if everything being equal or everybody's equally balanced, the game will run on its own without any player stats, but it should look pretty good, like a regular game. It's like two exact opposites. What are they? And based on NFL, yeah, I'll use like NFL base stats, so to speak, where everything has its average result as its action. So a tackle attempt. What do I fit? Because it's going to all come down to me, my logic, my calculations, my formulas. If I want a successful tackle 80% of the time, because tackles are generally successful, right? I have an 80% success rate on tackles. That's just what I put in. A tackle attempt, 80% chance, succeed or not succeed. Then, once I later start implementing player stats, the players and their skills will come into that tackle logic, and it'll adjust that 80%. So maybe now you've only got a 70% or a 60% if this guy's not very good at tackling and this guy's really good at getting away. He's got a 50-50 shot at breaking that tackle. And maybe he's even got a skill or an ability that injects into that. Maybe he does a sidestep or a spin or something that increases his chances of success on the break tackle. And so that stuff will be built in later. But on the base, it's this. And everything is what I call it, a deviation on that fraction. This way we're still built around the NFL average. So really good, two guys that come in around the right percentage. So the question is, two guys that are bad would deviate to 100%, right? So they might have a deviation connection to the actual play. How are we adjusting? So do I create every player with a deviation off the average? So certain guys get plus blah and certain guys get negative blah. Or do I build guys with skill levels and build the NFL max, build it all off the NFL max? It's like, whatever the stat or ability would be, nobody ever exceeds X. And I build my stuff off of the max. And then I take like a variation on that. So you can either have 100% of max, which would mean you are the perfect player who always does successfully and always gets blah, blah, blah. But the 100% max is still like in an NFL game, a successful tackle is never more than 91% of the time. 91% tackle rate. Every tackle attempt is like at least 7-8% get away. That's 100% tackle rate is 91%. It just means the NFL says, well, in the best game, the most clean, perfect tackling games in history, we never get better than 90%. I'm making this number up. I don't know what it is. And yeah, you've seen games like that, right? Where you have a really good defense and it just seems like your team cannot get away for their life. Every player who gets the ball is bam, he's on the floor. Clean. Sadly to say, Denver experienced a little bit of that in the Super Bowl where they got their butt whooped by Seattle. Yes, I know, I'm bringing up bad memories on my own. Shame on me. But Seattle was on, man. I mean, people talk about how bad Peyton Manning played. Honestly, he played pretty well. If you look at his stats, he wasn't anywhere. He was one of the better. He was completing a lot of passes, but they were low. They were short because the defense was doing their job, keeping the deep stuff out. But his percentage of completions was actually pretty good. And but the guys couldn't do anything. They'd get the ball and bam, bam, bam. There was no breaks, no runs, nothing. Denver could not move the ball. And that's like one of those games where you're talking about you're at the highest tackle rates. Your guys' first opportunity, there was just no missed tackles, and you got like a perfect game on defense. So you got to figure, well, based on that tackle rate, and I would have to use like a team tackle rate because I don't know which players are more successful than others. And it wouldn't matter for the purposes of creating my sim. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to have a base of every stat. And what is the best possible result. And then I build in every player gets their, instead of having a deviation off of the average, you get a percentage of the best. So if you're a 99, you get a 99 chance at being the best option. So you might say a single player didn't miss any tackles in a game, but maybe the league average for missed tackles in games might be, the best ever is 80 or something like that. You might be, 99% of 80. I mean, that guy's really going to hit it. Now, not very many guys are going to get 100% of an action, or even 99 or even 98. I'm not going to have a lot of guys that reach those levels. I know Madden, I think they do a 100-point scale. But 99 really gives you nowhere to go, right? I mean, if you're really, really good, I get it. But very few players. I mean, to me, a 99 or a 98 is like the best player in history. There's nobody ever who's been better than that guy, because you should never reach 100%. That might be the best performance in a game, but your career or your seasonal stat ability, did you never miss a tackle the whole year? Okay, I guess you might be something, but more likely than not, certain stats or skills would drop if you're that high, because the odds of you keeping up at that perfect level aren't very good. And the odds of staying a 99 on anything would be pretty hard to do even if you're basing it on a season stat, because it'd be really hard to get that kind of level of play out of a player every single year. So just keep in mind, if you have a guy who's near perfect on my game stats, the odds are that perfection is going to drop a little bit in the next season, because players don't do that. There's guys who do really good, they have great seasons, and then they turn around and have a better season. But it's not usually a 100% season. They may have been running an 80, and then they went up to a 90. And you can maybe get up to a 94 if they just keep improving. But they're never going to reach those high peaks, because at their peak, the record-breaking best, the game's already calculated for that. So unless you're getting up to record-breaking best levels, you're not going to hit 100. And the game calculates for record-breaking best levels being 98 or 99%. So you'd have to break those records to hit 100. And so that's why I say it'd be near impossible to hit those kind of numbers, because you'd have to keep doing it, and breaking records every single season constantly is hard to do. I mean, even Peyton Manning, who had a great record-breaking season, who probably would be a basis for a lot of the best values in this game in 2013 when they got whooped by Seattle. He didn't keep it up. I mean, he played really well in the following season and the season after, and they went to the Super Bowl, and he played decent. It wasn't even great, but again, he wasn't able to continually hit those numbers. He had a lot of perfect things going on, great players around him, great things going on, and they were just, stupidly good, which was awesome. But then they lost. And then their defense was stupidly good, and they were awesome, and they tore up the team, tore up the Panthers, which is a game I'd much rather talk about. But seasonally speaking, that was a defensive measure, right? So their offense was still very good. It just wasn't 2013. It was 2015. And Manning was Manning. I mean, he didn't do anything to hurt the team at all. He just wasn't carrying the team like he was in previous seasons. Honestly, I think Manning just was ready to go be a commentator or do other stuff. I think he was just like, hey, you know what? There's more to life than football. And once he discovered that, he was ready to move on. Okay, so I don't need the simulation state. I don't know what the simulation state is supposed to represent. What is simulation state supposed to represent? See, it's creating stuff. I don't know. Let's take that out. I'm taking all this simulation state stuff out. And if I need something, what is a simulation state? I don't know what that is. It can't complain about a thing that doesn't exist. Now, as far as player, so I have play progress, team play info, route action, game session, team details, game rule. So this is what a play is made up of. We have a player ID, route actions, and the play progress log has I have stuff I have to figure out here. So my play progress log, this stuff is like all calculated as an end result of a play. So I don't need to worry about that. But the play, what I'm working on right now is this play progress log, the nitty gritty of stuff, right? Game session is the top level item. Game rules, team details. But where is a play progress log? So we have the player who's going to be linked to the play, the route action result. So what's going on with the result? Okay, so see, I don't know if I want to use the player ID. I have the route action. I have the route action, but I feel like I'm missing something. Where is, I thought I had a function that was tracking team. I don't have it there. I thought I had something that was keeping track of my every play has the progress log is every step. So we have a route action. What are they doing? Move, and then the route action result is basically a test. We have route action result. We have I think I need to track where a player is. I think I need things like how much time has elapsed for that player. See, I don't like tracking time because that means I have to synchronize the clock, and then that means if the clock is running, it could stutter. Do we speed it up a little bit? Do we slow it down a little bit? How much time? Or maybe, well, if I say it takes them 0.1 seconds, it has to act out the play in that amount of time, in the total time. So if every move takes some fraction of seconds, and I have a clock running down in fractions of seconds, will it be able to scale their movement to those seconds? Because what if I have the clock running fast? Like, so, say somebody wants to go faster sim and they don't want to run it in 15 minutes, they want to run it in 10 minutes a game rather than 15 minutes in total. Or maybe I just run it fast all the time. A sim runs, 10 minutes instead of running in 15-minute increments. I don't necessarily want it to take 15 minutes a quarter. That's an hour to watch a game. You could, if you really want to see things happen and unfold. I want the game to be able to do that. And it probably would still be a little over an hour, right, if you're running in real-time clock terms. Because you got the seconds in between, stop clocks and all that stuff. So it could still end up running an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. Even if you're not doing commercials, I'm just saying you have stuff going on that delays it. You got that 40-second clock in between every play. That's almost an extra minute. It's 2/3 of a minute every minute. While assuming there's a clock stoppage, so I guess you probably wouldn't have that many extra. But you'd still have an hour 15, an hour and a half, depending on how many clock stoppages there were. So what we're going to have to do here is I have to somehow track the time. And that's the only way I can account for speed of a player. Yeah, I have to come up with a baseline and have all my players have a speed basis on that. I'm going to build it off of 40-yard dash times. I don't know what else to use. I mean, I don't know if that's available on a seasonal basis, but certain players, maybe certain player positions will only get certain actions. I do have speed calculated based on player stats, and it has nothing to do with their 40-yard dash times. It has a lot to do with the kind of yards they're gaining while they play, which to me it definitely has a different effect on the way the game would play, right? Because a player who's just doing really good, he does a lot of long passes, he gets a lot of yards after catch, his speed calculation tends to be higher than maybe a player who's not. And if a player is not, but then it's like, well, what do you do with like linemen who never touch the ball? How do we know how fast they are? Because they got to run guys down for the purposes of tackling a turnover. They got to have some kind of a speed. That's where you might use a baseline for most players. I don't know. You don't know what they are. So if you're going to build some guys off of a baseline and some guys off of their stats, or maybe you take the baseline and you give them little bonuses based on their stats. So maybe the guy really can run a 4.2 40, but he doesn't get a lot of yards after catch and he's getting kind of weak. Maybe he only gets credit for like a 4.4 40. Or maybe he just gets piles of touchdowns and blah, 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 and he might actually get a 4.0 40. There's some kind of a bonus or tweak. It doesn't really change his speed, but what it does is it changes. He gets a burst bonus or something like that helps him actually perform a little faster because his stats say he played better than his speed. He was getting away from people. He was running crazy yards, that kind of thing. So you want to have something like that, or I want to have stuff like that, so that there is a visible difference between a fast player and if your two guys are just streaking down the field, okay, maybe they're just running at their speed, but maybe there's some other kind of bonus for like how fast they run routes and that kind of stuff. I don't know. But I still think I need to have time considerations. And I don't want to have, I want to have how long it takes them to complete an actual grid step, a route step. So they should be changing positions, but their time to cover is going to be different. And it's going to get calculated based on their speed. I think I'm just going to do that. Step speed. How long did it take to cover the step distance? In milliseconds? That works about right. Because most guys can cover a step 2.5 yards in less than a second. If you're doing a 4.40, you're doing like 10 yards every 1.1 seconds. So yeah, you're covering a lot of. That's really fast. You don't realize a 4.40. Yeah, it's 1.1 seconds every 10 yards. That is really freaking fast. I'd be lucky to cover 5 yards in a second. That's like one step. I mean, it's one, possibly 2 steps. It's like ta-ta, ta-ta. And you're doing 2 tatas. 2 tatas in 10 yards. That's really fast. It's like ta-ta-ta-ta. Basically, you're getting, I would say it's 5 steps to cover 10 yards. 1, 2, 3, go! Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. That's fast. That's 5 steps. I'd be lucky to get 3, 4 steps in 1.1 seconds. That's crazy fast. They say linemen are about 5.3, right? Yeah, it might be a little over 5, but still it's 5 seconds. So still you're covering. So they're at least 5. They're doing 5 steps, and they probably have shorter steps. I mean, they're big guys, but they're kind of thump, 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 you know. I mean, it's 5.3 seconds. That's still fast. I say I could probably beat them. I could do less than 5.3 seconds. 5.3 seconds is what, 1.75 seconds or so? 1, 4, 5. 5.3. No, it's probably only like 1.25 seconds. Jeez. It still seems really fast. I digress. Okay, so we're gonna have to have a step speed. So I gotta have some way to consider the speed of the players, and I don't know how I'm gonna implement that in the UI. I don't know how. I don't know how Unity works. I don't know how the speeds are calculated. When you want one guy to go faster, it's like you can adjust their speed up a little bit. But I got to give them the speed at which they're going to act. Do I give them a setting that says cover this in blah speed, blah time? I mean, I don't know. This guy gets to be this fast, and this guy gets to be that fast. And does it just execute? I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm probably going to have to tweak that. But for now, we'll call it step speed, and we'll deal with it later. Once I get to the UI side, see, that's going to be where I have to make tweaks and edits to adjust for how Unity will adjust for the speeds that I give it. Because if I say it takes this guy, 100 milliseconds and this guy 200 milliseconds, what does that calculate to in the Unity world? And do I even want to have step speeds like that? I don't know. I may just have to do something like speed equals 6, speed equals 5, speed equals 4, or whatever. They all get a set speed to go with it, and then Unity, it makes the adjustment. So I would just say, yeah, he accomplished it. He did it with this speed. Maybe that's it. Maybe I just have to say, you know, move success, speed equals X. You know, and most players might have their, you just enter their speed value, whatever that number is, and hopefully maybe I use a value that works with whatever Unity uses for determining speed. So they do certain things at certain speed. And you can have a player speed up and slow down. That's not a problem. Typically, a player might slow down when they are coming up on a player. You know, they see a guy 2 squares ahead of them. They might move slower, or they might try to go fast and go around him. But anyway, so we'll do that. Step speed will be whatever. Okay, so that gives me the speed the player performs the action. It gives the result of the action. And then we have the route action. And then we also need to have the player grid position. I'm really starting to wonder if... All right, let me go ask AI this. Let's ask AI in a different world. Let's go ask my verbal buddy. Or not? Maybe not. Hello? Are you there? Let's close this. Sometimes he doesn't work if you let things What call? Who called? Whoa, Copilot is exploding on me. I guess I'm not going to be talking to Copilot today.
Hey, Kenneth, I'm here for you. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, quick question. I have a Logic. Oh gosh, hold on a second. So my brain freeze. Too busy trying to get Copilot up. What was I going to ask Copilot again? I was, God, jeez. I was going to go ask it. Oh, performance of XY string versus using XY values.
Kenneth, you're back. How's your morning shaping up?
So far so good. Hey, so for performance reasons, which is better? If I'm storing a grid location as a string, x:y as a string, is that faster or slower than just storing 2 separate values of x and y?
Storing them as separate values is usually faster for processing, since you avoid the overhead of splitting the string. It's typically more efficient for databases and computations to handle numeric values directly. What's got you thinking about performance today?
Still working on this football game of mine. I have a couple of... I'm trying to determine when a player's at a particular location, or even the ball is at a particular location. I need to kind of come up with the best way to move that player forward.
Got it. For game development, efficiency is key. Storing as separate coordinates and using a structure like a grid or a hash map for locations can help you efficiently check and move players or the ball. How far along are you in your development?
I'd probably say maybe 25%.
Nice. Early stages, with plenty of room to grow. What are you finding to be the most challenging part so far?
Well, I haven't gotten to my work in Unity, so that's probably going to be the most challenging part. But I am working on the back end, and currently it's actually developing the simulation logic. Has proven to be the most... It's going to be the most robust, and therefore it's most intricate.
Yeah. Nailing the simulation logic is crucial. It's the backbone that makes or breaks the realism and engagement in the game. How are you finding the process of creating those intricate mechanics?
Oh, I enjoy it. It's the kind of area that I tend to excel in. So I'm working a lot in creating the logic for each step and action along the way, and it's it's coming together pretty good.
That's awesome. It's great when you find a niche you excel in and enjoy. Seeing your hard work come together must be rewarding. What's your vision for how this game will stand out?
Well, I want to build a game that fills a niche that isn't filled, and I don't think that most of the football management games out there do a very good job with the actual simulation, especially the visuals. And I don't think a lot of the games that are designed to be played do a very good job with the management portion of the game. So you've either got really good UI games or you really got good management games. I want to be something that actually kind of covers the gambit without going so far into the weeds as some management games, but maybe not have the extent of visual logic like a Madden game might have, but have a good solid base of both worlds.
Nailed it. Bridging that gap between solid management mechanics and engaging simulation visuals could really set your game apart. It's a sweet spot that could attract both strategy lovers and those who crave an immersive experience. Sounds like you're onto something unique. What's the next big step in your development journey?
Oh, definitely it'll be to complete the Unity side of things. Starting to work on the Android application and the graphics side of how this is going to work. I am currently using React as my test bed because I know a little bit more React and I can get a lot more functions in there, but getting the Android part of this is going to be the next big thing.
Smart move, leveraging React to prototype and test your functions. Transitioning to Unity and Android development will be a big leap, but with your back-end logic shaping up, it'll all come together. Exciting times ahead. What's your timeline looking like for the Android build?
I hope to start working on it in the next couple of months at the latest, and hopefully having something kind of usable in the next 3 to 4 months, at least as far as basic implementations going and familiarity with the Unity UI.
Solid plan. Keeping it focused with a basic implementation in a few months is a smart way to go. Unity might have a learning curve, but with your back-end logic ready, you'll have a strong foundation to build on. Ready to dive into Unity full force?
Not just yet. That'll be my next thing. Okay, so I had a conversation with my buddy there, Copilot. That's not a bad voice, I guess, but they have 4 options, but they did an update recently that broke the other voices. You can't switch. Every time you try, it just goes back to that one. He's pretty good, though. It's not so bad. Anyway, I like chatting with him. I don't know what it's keeping. I hope it keeps something, because when I talk about it in the future, I'd like it to be able to know that I don't have to start the conversation over. It'd be cool if it was like it knew about the football game I was developing, and if I write more, I give it more information, it'll say, oh yeah, how's that football game coming? You know, that kind of thing. You know, so you could have some information that's building up logic. I don't care if it knows. I'm not giving it personal information. I think it's cool that it would learn a little bit more, and I can have a conversation, and it will be able to reference that stuff. I don't think it does. I think future-wise, it says it can learn some stuff about you if you engage with it. But does it? Guess we'll find out. I maybe one of these times I'll ask it. So, you're trying to remember some stuff about me, aren't you? What can you tell me that I'm currently working on? You know, just start a conversation off that way, and it should be able to go back and look at what you're currently working on. But I bet you it won't. I don't know. You'll have to tell me. It's like, yeah, okay. And that'll keep me from engaging with it more in the future, because I know it's a waste of time, because it'll just throw it all out. Where are we at? Whoa, it's only been an hour. Okay, we got some time. I need something in my belly. I need something in my belly. I need some food. Went to the gym today. I need some protein. Trying to decide if we have any frozen like things I can throw in the microwave. I don't think we do. I guess I can wait. I can wait until my stop time, which is 45 minutes from now. So let's go ahead and let's wait. The thing is, my water's gone. Everything's gone. I'm running out of stuff. What is today? Wednesday? Jeez, week is flying by again. I got to get to my studies on my my play. Make some time for that today too. Bleh. All right. So I've got time in there. I think I am going to convert and stop doing. Let's just do it, man. It's going to be interesting because it means I got to change how everything works, because I need to have things be as efficient as possible, and therefore storing as we'll say let's see, player X grid position. Why is it float? That's okay. I actually do have a need for a float, because that means I won't have to convert its type. Because float 64, I am using the Y grid position to define how far the ball is moved, and there's decimal points because you can do inches, which is fractions of yards, unless I store everything in inches, which would be stupid. And then we wouldn't have decimal points. Yeah, I don't want to track inches or meters or anything nonsensical. Really what it's going to come down to is, yes, we can have fractions of a yard. Yes, we can have fractions of a yard, but what we can't have, I'm not going to say, it's going to be fourth in inches, third in inches, first in inches. But I'm not going to tell you how many inches. It could be 1 inch, it could be 2 or 3 or 4 inches. And it's decimal points. It could be 0.999 yards, you know, but it's, and inches. Or maybe if it's so close, I can say something like fourth in an inch. You know, I can have certain logics if the percentages, blots, inches, just to kind of have the words be, but it's not precise fractions. But yeah, you could actually potentially have a gain of inches. You know, it's still no gain, but the ball moved inches. So maybe you only need 9.5 yards. 9 point. I think, I want to say it's an Amazon truck in front of our house, but it doesn't have the Amazon symbol. So it's just a dark colored van that maybe they're going to kidnap somebody. I don't see anybody. I mean, there's nothing over there, so I don't know what they're doing. I would have thought if it was an Amazon van, they're dropping something off at our house, because it's the only house. There's no house across the street. So it just looks like some person got out of the car and they went to the other side, and I don't know. They're gonna go jump in the pond. I don't know. Who knows? Nosy neighbor. No, I'm not nosy. I just want to know if they're delivering something to my house that I have to go pick up. Okay. So we got player grid position. So that means I need to have the ball X grid position. And I guess, and this is again just for easy calculation. That's why I'm using floats, because I'm decimaling. X will rarely ever have inches in it. It'll be almost always a whole number, but I mean, why make them different? I mean, is it going to carry that much space? Why would I need X to be? Why would I need X? Hey, I'm going to ask another question here.
Got it, Kenneth. Let's tackle Unity when you're ready. Ready for anything else?
Did remember that. Hey, so with a with the hold on a second. Dang it! I keep forgetting my logic. I get so caught up on what the guy's saying. I did remember that. Hey, he heard me say that. Ha ha. What was I? Oh, I know. Oh, so now it's broken? Are you broken? Dang it. Let's try that again. You gotta close it. It breaks a lot.
Here again, Kenneth.
So,
What's your next project milestone?
well, to try to get this simulator in a basic form working. So I have another quick question with a with the hold on. Dang it. What did I lost it again. I keep getting distracted by you. Stop asking me questions. All right, so I wanted to know, in the NFL, blah blah blah. In the NFL, when a ref places the football, what determines whether they place it in the center of the field or on the left or right?
In the NFL, the ball is typically placed on the hash marks, not in the exact center, after a play ends, depending on where the previous play ended. If the play ended between the hash marks, the ball is placed at that spot. Otherwise, it's placed on the nearest hash mark. How can I help further with your sim?
For now, that'll be it. I'm sure I'll be back.
I'll be here, Kenneth. Take care.
It just loses connection, so you kind of have to. But it's kind of cool that he does kind of remember some of what you're talking about, at least currently, and we'll see how long that keeps up. Okay, so I actually thought that it was put in the center if you're between the hash marks, and then if it's left or right, you get the nearest hash mark, which I kind of knew that part. But the center, I thought it just went to the center. If you were in between, you get the center. So it's really where you are in the hash mark, which is interesting. Because that does kind of tweak people left and right, right? So you could theoretically have if my game has 5 squares in the middle for the space, I guess the question is how far apart are the hash marks? I don't know, but if you have the player, the center of the field. If you put the ball on a hash mark, my whole team needs to be able to fit on the hash mark, right? Because you can't. Oh, I'm going to have to know. I am going to have to know left and right. Well, at least you could theoretically have 0, 0 and is where the ball is. So X grid position, Y grid position, and ball grid position are always going to be 0, 0 to start. But how does that work on the field? So I got to translate 0, 0. I mean, the whole play works around the grid position of the starting point being 0, 0, which is always the ball's position, whatever it is on the field. But I need to translate the starting position of the ball on the field. So it's going to be in grid space blah in relation to the entire field. So the question is, do I play, is the 50-yard line the 0, 0? Exact center of the 50 is 0, 0, and then we go positive, negative? How do we track the field position in relation to the starting point? If I want to be able to have the ball, I want realism enough. I mean, like, get this. I don't think there's any football game. I'm pretty sure, in fact, that I've ever seen, maybe I'm wrong, maybe Madden does it, who knows, that considers different hash marks for anything. And you might say, who cares? Why are we even bothering with that? It does matter. What about kicks? Kicking from the right hash mark or the left hash mark changes how a kicker has to kick. It's typically thought of as easier to kick from the center. That's why teams actually go out of their way to run one more play when they have it to center the ball to make it easier on the kicker. It's easier to kick straight than having to make an adjustment for inside or outside. You don't have a choice, obviously, if you're out of time and out of plays, but you have to account for these things. And I want the simulation to be realistic. So now I just need to figure out do I have the balls grid? Maybe the ball gets an actual X grid position is actually based on the field, but players are based on a play grid. There's play grid and there's a field grid, and everything is based off of. I could recalculate. No, I think I'm just gonna go. I just need to tell it where the ball grid position is blah, and then we have that becomes 0, 0 for the play grid. And so ball position is always different from the ball position is always different from the play grid. Yeah, but then I have to track. Then I have to do things goofy like tracking how far they are left and right. Well, no, because they're in a grid. They're going to be in a grid space, and they're either going to be, maybe they're right next to the line. I will have to consider that for the sake of how many grid spaces my field takes up, because I may not have enough room in my current setup to cover the hash mark widths and the width of the field should the play have to be put on the left or right hash mark. Which is all fine. I just got to adjust my grid space. This is why I'm using a grid. It makes it easier to adjust for the location of the play. And I just got to make sure there's enough room for everybody to do their thing in whatever hash mark. In the NFL, there's plenty of room, right? It's a 50-some yard field. Getting, 8, 9 guys wide? Come on. It's not that much space for 50 yards. It's a lot of yards. It's big. I didn't realize how wide a field was. And to think that as wide as it is, you're covering that same speed. Like, it's hard getting from the goal line to the 50-yard line, but to think that it's really just running from sideline to sideline. It's like, really? You just got to run sideline. I mean, you got guys starting that far apart on the play. It's like you don't realize how scattered, how spread out your guys are on the field, and you really think about it. The time it takes this guy to move to the other side of the field is the same as this guy going from the 1 yard line to the 50-yard line. It's kind of, when you think of that, it's like, takes a while to run that far. This is why guys don't like to run off the field, because they got to cover 50 yards to do it if they're running from the opposite side of the field. So player grid position is going to be based on the play grid. Based on play grid, which is centers on the ball as 0, 0. Based on field grid, which centers on the 50-yard line, center as 0, 0. So I think that'll be the best way. So the ball will determine the ball's position on the field is going to determine where you are on the field. But how much it moves forward or back will be determined by the advancement of the current position of the field. So we say if you're on... Oh, okay. So we'll take the player grid position, and wherever you are on the ball, so if you like plus y of 7, we'll multiply that by the number of yards that it is, and we'll add it to the ball's y grid position, and that'll move the ball forward. So whatever it is, we get X amount of yards on top of that, and then we determine what grid position that puts the ball in based on the yards. Or we advance the ball that number of grid positions. So we can increase the yards, but that's not really the yard line. And we can figure the yards, and then we add it to the original starting position, and that gives us the yard line we're on. But then we got to put the ball on one of the hash, I think we have the information we need. I just got to do the math and calculations on how we get there. But I think the grid position of the ball will tell me where it's at on the field in total, and then we just 0, 0 our play grid over the top of it based on play grid with center, which centers on the ball at 0, 0, based on field grid, which centers on the 50-yard line, center at 0, 0. So the ball will either be, in some grid position off of the 50-yard line. Now, I guess I can have things swap positive, negative. It doesn't matter. It's just for the purposes of that particular play. So it doesn't matter what way we're going on the field, as long as we always have the ball in relation to what we're facing. Okay, so we're good there. I think I have all the stuff I need. So I probably won't need this function anymore. What was it called? Parse, whatever the heck. No. Is it run play? Score after play, calculate fumble chance, get play description, get playbook, parse coordinates. We don't need to parse coordinates anymore because I'm no longer doing that. We will have what we need. And that means I have to change my proto files. Let's go to the simulator proto. It's going to save everything so far. Then we're going to go to the simulator, and we're going to split this, get rid of the, I don't know, and it's funny how it gives you two of the same. I don't know why it does that. Look at my types. Oops. We'll squeeze this out a little bit. All right, so let's see what we got. The thing I changed is play progress log. I've added a lot of stuff to the play progress log. So we got ID. We do have the player ID. We have the route action, the route action result. Step speed is new. Grid positions are new. So we got route action results. Let's put this in here. Float 64. And this is really just an int, but oh, actually that's not right. And then we got float 64, player X, grid position, player Y grid position, and then we got gotta renumber these guys. Let's see, we got player type ID, formation ID, and this has position X and Y, but I'm changing the name because I don't like it. And that's not the one it was supposed to be anyway. 9, 10. These probably don't have to be float anything because it's not the Here's another question. Player credit. Oh, did you hear Val Kilmer died? That was kind of a bummer. I mean, I knew he was sick and stuff, but still.
Kenneth, glad you're back. What's on the agenda today?
Well, for now, when a player in the NFL runs for 9.5 yards, or say 9 3/4 yards, does he get credit for that last 3/4, or does he only get the 9?
He only gets credited with the full yards. So in that case, he'd be credited with 9 yards. The remaining distance only counts if it crosses the next full yard marker. Anything else on your mind?
Nope, not right now. Okay, so we don't have to worry about giving players partial yardage, which is good. I'm just trying to think of when we're storing, when I'm putting field position down, where is the ball going to be sitting? I want to put it in the right grid, and I should know that it's 4th and inches, but it's like I want to be able to track in some way inches. I don't know how games do it in general. I feel like they might do something. Because I do see a lot of times the game will say you have 4th and inches. Or, you know, it's less than a yard. So it's keeping track of how far you're moving. Maybe it's not actually tracking it specifically. Because if it says a tackle happens and the ball is at a point and it's short of the thing, it'll just say 4th and inches, right? So it's doing some kind of logic, but I think a lot of those are UI derived logic. So the guy actually moves with the ball, he gets tackled at a point, and that's where it is, and it's not covering the full 10 yards, which is nice and smooth. But when you're doing all the calculations in the back end, logic is different. you know, I've got to figure out where their point is. And when they say fourth and inches, I don't think that anybody's going. They don't care if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11 inches, 12 inches, 36 inches. They don't. Inches could be anything short. You could actually, they could call it fourth in inches if the guy is if it's over 9 yards and it's only an inch over, then it could still be fourth in inches, right? Because it's less than a full yard. It's more than this and less than that. I don't know if they're actually going, well, he needs a full yard. You know, he needs, you know, what is it, 35 inches. So how is the best way, if I'm actually tracking, do I want, now, I guess the thought is, okay, where is the ball in a grid? If the ball is put into a grid space, which is 2.5 yards, it's a pretty significant amount of space. We have to say, well, the ball is technically, I want to say the ball is at that point of the 2.5 yards. So we have to do a subtraction off of that point to cover the actual inches, or even the 2.5 yards, because we got to put them in the grid. I mean, you can do things like tracking on a smaller grid. Huh? What? Dude, that is a rando question. Best cake I ever had on my birthday. Jeez. Well, actually, I had a really good one this last birthday. I like chocolate. I'm a big chocolate fan. Classic, right? I like my chocolate to be a little darker, richer. I don't necessarily like the bitter 90 plus stuff, but I like rich dark chocolate, like 70, 80%. So I asked for a chocolate cake with fruit in the middle because I like fruit, strawberries, cherry, you know, whatever, cherry, strawberry, whatever, anything. You can be peach or whatever, but I wanted it to have something in the middle. I like saucy, or not necessarily bulk chunk stuff, but like maybe like a strawberry jelly or jam or whatever. With little chunks is fine, but I don't necessarily want a whole peach slice in my cake. But I like the strawberry, cherries, blackberry, that kind of filling. I said that's what I want, and they made me a cake like that, and it was very good. It was one of my favorites. Also, Costco used to make a pretty amazing dark chocolate cake. They don't make it anymore, I guess. They took it off their menu. It was pretty spectacular. So, there's. I'm also, I like carrot cake. So I've had a couple of homemade carrot cakes that were fantastic. I like even the store-bought cakes go. I like spice/carrot cake, which almost tastes exactly the same. If you buy a store-bought carrot cake, store-bought spice cake, you can barely tell the difference. They're pretty much the same cake. One just probably has little fligments of carrot in it. I don't know. But you can't really taste the difference. But I like that kind of cake. So I'm a cake guy. I like cake. So I prefer those over like white cake. But hey, man, a good white cake with ice cream is solid too. Don't usually get that on my birthday because I don't usually ask for that kind of cake on my birthday. But, if somebody's just making cake for you and you don't expect it, I'm good with any cake. I don't like wedding cake or what do you call it? The big bulk cakes. They're kind of lame. I don't know. They taste store-bought. I don't like store-bought cake. It's rarely good unless it was the Costco chocolate cake. I haven't seen another really good cake besides that one. Store-bought. Anyway. So I'm really struggling with trying to decide how I want to handle the and inches. Do I want precision tracking, or do I want to just say it's and inches? And then if I have to have precision tracking, I have to be able to say where the ball is all the time. I am not. Nope. I am just a Christian. I mean, some people think Mormonism is similar. It's similar to Christianity. It is similar to Christianity. They believe that, you know, Jesus was a guy. But I think it's as similar to Christianity as Judaism is to Christianity. You know, it's like it's a different religion with different beliefs, but they intertwine. They have a lot of the same base. They're using at least part of the Bible as their basis, right? So, but Mormonism decided that they needed an extra little add-on supplement to the Bible, which is whatever John Jake or whatever the heck his name is. So, yeah. No, I am not Mormon. I have a good friend of mine who's Mormon, but I don't think he's really practicing anymore. He used to be a lot more devout because he converted. When you convert, you're pretty devout. But eventually, he just kind of stopped. If I'm going to track precision for yards, I think I need to. If I'm going to use a grid space, it's going to have to be the grid space plus the inches. I think that's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to say ball added placement ball added placement inches, and we'll just say in 32. Inches added to ball grid position to cover actual distance. Cover actual position of ball short of a yard. We'll see how that works. Yeah, he was definitely not husband of the year by any means. For any of his wives. How many wives did he divorce? All right, so we got 6, 7. This is going to have to be 8. Nine, 10, 11, 111, and then we have ball X grid position. Now I have a bunch of new values. Step, I am using step, but do I need step? I guess to note. Really? Because they're just going through each person's action. And you need to give them the next action when they succeed at the action. Yeah, maybe I do need to keep a step. I don't think I need it for the play progress log, but I do need to probably keep track of it just so that it knows which route to give, which route action needs to occur next. So we'll keep that in there for now. This is going to have to be something else though. So we need all of these values, which I do not have. Oops, I didn't even realize I made capitals here. Darn me. Stop doing that. This is the problem with mixed case. I like putting capitals on my words. It just bugs me not doing that. Oops. Ah, what am I doing? Don't. I hate that these are written in reverse. It's such a pain. Proto files are a pain in the rear. And they don't reformat themselves either. This is why this is such a pain. Because like if I hit save right now, it won't clean this up. It'll just look scattery because that's how I'm typing it. Oh, and what? N32 is not a thing, and Proto probably doesn't know what that is. Sheesh. Why doesn't it like my ball grid position? Or my float 64. Oh, that's supposed to be a Y. Oh, did I not? Oh, I just didn't change it. Alright, so he then went on killing spree and murdering many wives. Yeah. That's a lot of kind of what was happening in Game of Thrones. I mean, it's like, what was Jon Snow was technically the son of a king, but because he was a bastard child, that became a problem. You know what? Did you ever see Gladiator? Gladiator and Game of Thrones, both of them had the same situation of the king tells so-and-so, hey, you're going to take over, you're going to be the new guy, you're going to be important. But he only tells that person prior to telling the guy who's going to murder him for telling him that I'm doing this. He goes, I've decided this person's going to be the king, or my hand, or blah, 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 blah. He's going to do whatever. And the guy goes, oh, well, all right. Dead. Nobody knows except for that person who's what? This person's a nobody without the word of the king. Come on, people. You don't tell somebody who may or may not. I don't care if it's your son or whoever the heck it is. You make sure more than one person knows your intent, who doesn't gain, who is not negatively affected by this fact. You know, you tell your head of your guard, you tell the person you're going to give that ability, and you tell them in a group, you get them all into the room. This is the plan. This is what I want. And then when he turns around and tells his son or whoever that this is what I'm doing, well, killing him at that point is not going to matter. They already know. You save a lot of work, right? Gladiator, he tells a GS, whatever the heck his name is, that he wants him to be the new ruler, the new king, whatever, because he doesn't trust his son for crap. So what's he do? He goes, okay, I'm going to go tell my son now. And nobody knows. He just told him that. And hey, there's no evidence that he told him that. He's now a nobody. Again. I don't know. It's dumb. What is the equivalent of int32 in the proto? Because it doesn't like int32 or float64 here. Ah. Dang it. See.
Hey again, Kenneth. What's up?
Hey, in a proto file, what is the equivalent of float64?
In a proto file, float64 would be equivalent to double. Want to know more about proto files?
No, I'm good. So it's a double here. See, I tried to use double over here in Go, but Go doesn't do double. So I was like, do I try double here? I mean, I guess proto files could actually probably be used. Proto is not, well, it is Go, right? Yeah, because you're creating you're creating Go files from the proto files. But I don't know, maybe you can create other types of files from proto files if you're using a different language. I don't know. Proto might be usable by other languages. What do I know? I guess I could have asked that question when he asked me, do you want to know more? But I said no. All right, well, I've created some more bases, but it is 11 o'clock. I got to go start planning for my door dashing and get some food in my system and get myself ready to go. So that's my morning stream, about 2 hours, not too bad. They would if the law says, the law says the king's will matters, and you're telling enough people. If people don't, if the people you're telling would be negatively affected, you need to make sure you tell enough people who know your will. Then they can't hide it or cover it up. Because at that point, there's immediately someone else in charge, and those guys can't stop it. Right? Because unless they all kill all the other people who know, and then you end up with a whole different problem. I mean, yes, it's possible, but it's less likely. So as long as everybody who knows, it's kind of like if you tell the main person that he's getting it in front of all of the other people who could be negatively affected and the people who might be positively affected, say, for example, his daughter could have been there, and she would be like, okay, let's make sure this happens. She's got enough weight to at least ensure that people do what they're supposed to and expected because she's a witness. And you have to have the right kinds of witnesses, the people who aren't negatively affected by the action. She was never going to get it. She knew she was never going to get it. If she was there or knew of the plan, as well as a few other key people who were trusted and liked, like maybe the head of the army who did like him, so would have been glad to support him, knowing that that's what the king wanted, and that the laws of the land say the king's will matters even after he makes these these deals. As long as they all know that, while all of the stupid council and advisors, it don't matter what they think, he's got the military on his side, right? So, okay, as soon as he dies, he takes over, he's got the military. It is what it is. They can't do squat, So, I mean, he had the military. If that military guy had known what the king wanted, he was set. There was nothing anybody could have done about it. His son could have killed his dad, and they would have just thrown his son in prison because they had the backing of the king. They know it. They knew what the king wanted. All the right people would have known, and he would have been emperor or whatever. So I'm just saying, there's a way. A smart king, that guy was supposedly a smart king, should have known better than to just tell one person. course, that's TV for you. They always do the stupid things. They're not truly smart. And he was by no means a rando. He wasn't like he just picked some dude off the street. This guy, the people loved him. Heck, even probably a lot of the people in the what do they call it, the council or whatever, a lot of them probably loved him. This guy was liked. The only one who would not have liked the idea of him taking over was his son. And if it wasn't for his son hiding that fact of what the king wanted, yeah, no, he was an in. If the right people knew, there was not going to be any resistance. Certainly not enough that would have mattered. Too many people. So, yeah, not a thing. Anyway, I got to sign off for now. Till later.